As I get started for today, I do have to ask a favor. My voice has been acting up today, and so I am kind of a little bit hoarse, so just bear with me. I have my tea with me today, and I'm going to be taking some sips of it, so I apologize in advance if my voice is a little jacked up, but I again just hope that you bear with me. So today's show is about dreams. And one thing that I've noticed about dreams is that either people are very inspired by them and have a wonderful experience with them, or they're more sort of confused and freaked out about them. And so part of my inspiration this morning for the show was just to clarify some of those things and hopefully alleviate any fears that anyone has about dreams, and also offer some insights and clarity so that way it's not such a confusing, scary, or sort of freaked out experience. You know, in my psychotherapy practice, it's actually very common for souls to come in and say, you know, Miss Shawna Marie, I had this dream. I have to talk to you about it. It's been freaking me out. And so lately I've been doing a lot of spontaneous dream interpretations, and that's how I decided, let me go ahead and share some of these insights with the larger audience, because I'm assuming that my clients are not the only ones that have questions about dreams. So I'm just going to start with the basics. I mean, the dictionary, I wrote all this stuff down. The dictionary defines dreams as, on a very basic level, an inspiration, a goal, or an aim. And that's just, you know, sort of a fancy way to say that the things you hope will happen. You know, my greatest dream is to be a world renowned published author, let's just say, for example. But let's say that you want to be a television host or a multimillionaire or married or own an island. Whatever that desire that you have of your life's achievement, all of that would be kind of defined within a dream. So that's the kind of practical everyday talk about dreams. Is my greatest dream. I'd like to be this, I'd like to do that, I'd like to have a yacht, whatever it is. And then when you go into when you stay within the waking state, there's also this idea of spontaneous images and ideas that may come to you while you're wide awake. Some folks call that vision, but the dictionary does offer a definition which says involuntary vision that occurs when one is awake. Sorry, I warned you about the voice. But so that involuntary vision, some people, and this is different from daydreams, because when you're daydreaming, you're kind of allowing yourself to relax and envision a scenario, and maybe you're directing that vision. But an involuntary vision, it's very spontaneous. It comes out of nowhere. It's kind of like a flash. And I think this is where things start to get a little bit confusing, because then souls are wondering, you know, was this a prophetic vision? Is this something that's about to happen? Is this a message from the angels or from my spirit guides or from God? And then there's also the dreams that happen when we are asleep. So again, the dictionary says a succession of images, thoughts, or emotions that happen while we're asleep. So as I'm reading this, I'm thinking to myself, this is obviously very confusing, because if this can happen consciously when you're awake, unconsciously or involuntarily when you're awake, or involuntarily when you're sleeping, this is a huge, vast area about the images that show up in our lives, and we don't have as much guidance about it. So here's where I come in. And I would encourage everyone to consider the fact that when you have a desire, it's almost as if it comes from somewhere super, super deep inside of you. It seems very spontaneous, not that you consciously thought about it. And so all of those types of dreams and aspirations and inspirations, I do believe, are from what I understand to be divine. Because when your conscious thinking, intellectual faculties are at rest, these wonderful ideas come to you. And so, where do they come from? So, I personally believe that God is in, as, and through everyone. And so, when I have these inspirations and these ideas, I consider that to be God speaking to and through me. But I want to get into the way that the mind is separated. I shouldn't say separated because I don't believe in separation, but the aspects of the way our conscious, subconscious, and superconscious works. Because, and I drew this out for one of my clients, so that's why I'm thinking about this in particular. But if you take one individual, right? So you have a soul, and consciously you know what time it is, you can see what's happening around you, you're thinking, feeling, breathing, etc. And then if you were to almost close your eyes and just be quiet, there are images and thoughts that happen. And it's not because you're consciously thinking about it. That would be subconscious activity. And so that's where your memories are. That's where you get a window into these processes that are happening when you're not consciously activating your intellect. And so, for those of you who get involved in meditation, you're familiar with this process. It's like you close your eyes, you sit quietly, and things start to happen. Ideas begin to flutter around, emotions, physical sensations, and things like that. And you can get very intense active visions, and that it's almost like you're reliving an experience from the past. You're kind of going through what seems like a spiritual or deeper aspect of something that's happening in your current life experience, or you're experiencing and seeing something that could only be a possibility in the future. And all of that is happening in your subconscious. And superconscious, I mentioned this in book club, superconscious is, again, just a very fancy way to talk about the divine, what is the highest and best and blessed, this super spiritual reservoir, if you will, that for the most part, has to be spiritually discerned. I mean, a lot of writers talk about spiritual things are to be spiritually discerned. And so, as much as a spiritual teacher, I can share information and draw on the board and, outline certain things, most of these things are not going to be true for you until you sit and have the experiences for yourself, until you allow your intuition to kick in. And I think this is such an important aspect to understanding dreams because it's just such a spiritual experience. Gosh, I feel like one of those folks that, like when the Smurfs say, well, it's Smurf this, Smurf that, because it's a spiritual experience, it's a spiritual understanding, and therefore it's a spiritual discernment. And in order to do that, you really can't intellectualize as much, but actually experience it. And intellectually, what you do need to do is let yourself experience it. So what does this have to do with dreams? Because again, this is all about windows. Most of the time when we have our dreams, they're actually just our unconscious processes happening. So like in an average day, all these things are happening to you, and there's things that you almost just don't have time to think about it. It's like you can't laugh about it, you can't cry about it, you haven't had a chance to talk about it because life is moving so very quickly and things are happening so fast that you just don't have the time to sit quietly and let it happen. So what often happens, especially super, super busy people, if they ever take a minute to sit still, when you finally get home and it's almost like the day's on pause for a hot second, boom, all these thoughts start flooding. And it's like unfinished business from the day. So if all you do is come home and go to sleep, it's likely that your unfinished business from the day is what is going to show up in your dreams. If you've watched anything on television it wouldn't be unreasonable for you to have a dream where you're one of the characters having a similar experience to that TV show. Or, like your mind allows you to experience an aspect of that show. So, not the best idea to watch crime films or crime shows, horror shows, and things like that. A lot of the little kids that I work with that have nightmares, almost all of them are watching these pretty scary, intense adult content films before they go to bed. And so as soon as they close their eyes, they're flooded with those images. And so when you're having your dreams, that very basic level of unconscious processes finishing out the day is likely what is happening. Now, if you do make a habit of sitting quietly and allowing yourself to meditate or just kind of process the day. I know some people process the day through journaling, or maybe they talk to their therapist, they talk to their really good friends or their prayer partners and what have you, and that often processes the day so that way their mind is clear before they go to bed. And so now when they go to sleep, the kinds of dreams they're having is still unconscious processes, but they're usually much more intense and much deeper. That is actually the window that opens up the possibility of the divine coming in and showing you messages. It's almost, when I think back to how I learned about dreams, most of this is by experience. I've obviously studied a lot about dreams and read, but part of why I feel comfortable talking about it is because when I've had the experience, then that later was validated in a book. I was like, oh, okay, that's how it works. That makes sense to me. That's what I've experienced. And so when you go to sleep and you are clear, meaning it's not the unconscious processes, then what you are going to see in your dreams are probably going to be insights and information from your past lives. Insights and information that can help you through current experiences, or insights and information about your potential to, give you a little bit of inspiration. I know everyone has their own different beliefs about whether or not they believe in reincarnation. So when I'm saying past lives, this may, automatically trigger some resistance from you because maybe you don't believe that you were here before. And for those who don't necessarily believe that they're going to get messages from the divine, this is going to also trigger some resistance from you, and that's okay. But again, I'm speaking from my personal experience, and I know that I've had dreams which were clearly experiences from my past life, and that past lives, and that's been very consistent ever since I was a little girl. I've also had dreams that speak to insights about current circumstances that I would not have known were it not for this very quiet revelation that would come to me in my dream. And sometimes sometimes I think that if we were awake and peaceful and receptive, we would get these inspirations during our waking time, and that's what those involuntary, spontaneous waking dreams are about. But most of the time, this stuff happens at night because we are so intellectually activated, we are so busy and focused on so many other things that it takes the one time that we're still and quiet when we're asleep, that Holy Spirit can just kind of come through and say, here, look, here it is, feel this, look at this, and really get your attention. And usually you're going to remember when you wake up. There's also intercession. There is healing that takes place while we're sleeping. It's really very fascinating that you can relive an experience from your childhood and allow yourself to feel the emotions and have the intellectual realization, and that then is a healing process. And same thing with the prophetic dreams. Sometimes the anxiety and fear that you're having right now, if you had some clue to what was going to happen next, or some clue to the possibility in your future, then it gives you some kind of peace. And in that regard, it is a healing. And so the things that I want to make sure that everyone understands are dreams are nothing to be afraid of. And if by chance you're having the kinds of dreams that do feel scary from you, like you're running from something or someone's coming after you, then I would encourage you to pray before you go to sleep, to protect yourself. It's almost like intending your mind and impressing your mind and your consciousness with that armor of God. God goes before me even as I sleep, and only good can come to me while I am sleeping. And that then charges you and sets a framework for what's going to happen around you. A lot of times when we have those anxiety dreams, back to the unfinished business dreams that I was talking about before, when that's happening, oops, I'm not even looking in the chat room. Let me peek over there. Oops. Um, but when those unconscious process dreams are happening, and you're having anxiety about something, one thing that I encourage my clients to do is to actually go ahead and let the dream finish. Sometimes we wake ourselves up out of the dreams because it's like, I don't want to watch this anymore. I don't want to be here anymore. Make it stop. And so you wake yourself up, and then what happens? You go back to sleep, and boop, it just continues right where it left off, because that learning experience needs to happen. Oh, hi, Jay, early. Sorry, dear, I wasn't looking in the chat room. Hi, good morning. Thanks for joining the show. But going back to the anxiety dreams, so if you allow the dream to finish, it's almost like Groundhog's Day. Do you guys remember this movie? It was kind of far back in the day, and it was almost like he kept living the same day over and over again until he got it right. Our dreams will continue to happen again and again and again until we get the message. Does that make sense? If you guys have questions, jump in the chat room and let me know. Otherwise, I'm going to keep at it. But so the same thing with interpreting dreams. And this stuff is important because I know sometimes when you guys are having dreams that you'll get, I guess, a visitation, a friend, a family member, someone who has transitioned and is no longer living in a physical body. It's as if they come to visit you and they say something to you, or they do something in the dream that you feel was very, very, very real to you. You're not going crazy. I mean, if you have any questions about which, if any of these dreams and inspirations are, if there's some question about your mental health, just give me a call and we can talk about it, or send me an email and I'll be happy to guide you through that, because I think sometimes we do get fearful. Are we going crazy? Let me not tell anyone about this. They're going to think I'm crazy. And so I just want you to know that Healing Truth Center is a safe space where you can share and process these kinds of experiences. I know growing up for me, it was very, very scary. And I didn't understand why I would have a dream and then it would happen. Or I would have a dream and all of a sudden have a healing take place in my body. Something like that. So, and the visitations and the intercessions. So let me just talk about that because I think this is important. Remember how I talked about this before, about the subconscious mind and how we're all basically surrounded by energy and we are energy. We don't live in a world by ourselves. There are other souls. And so because of that, you could be in New York. You can have a friend in California. That friend in California is thinking about you intently. That sends out energy into the universe that you can receive. You may be conscious about this, or you may be unconscious about this. So for those who are conscious about it, you may have a flash of that person pop up in your head. You may have the inclination to call them. You may go to sleep to dream and they keep showing up randomly in your dreams. Sometimes that is really more about the intensity of their thought force going out into the universe and you receiving it. I personally prefer to be conscious of this than to be unconscious to it, because the same way that someone can think positively about you, they may very well be thinking negatively about you. And it's important to then be able to understand what's happening and also be in a position to protect yourself and be thoughtful about how it is that you live and how it is that you open up your consciousness to these higher inclinations that can heal you of if per se someone does have a negative thought vibration that is being sent towards you. Unfortunately, some of the illnesses that some of us experience have more to do with the negative thought intent of another soul, because their dream, their vision, their intention, their aim is to harm as opposed to bless, and that collective energy comes towards you. And so being in a position to understand, okay, I'm having this vision, I'm seeing this soul, they're showing up into my dream. Now what do? I think is important. And again, if you guys have questions about that, pop it in the chat room so I can answer you while I am live on the line. And if not, email me, but because of my schedule, I don't know how quickly I'll be able to get back to you. So anyway, so how do you protect yourself, and why is it important to understand how these thought forces work in the universe? Because in that dream state, when you're having a visitation from a loving friend or family member that's there to warn you, you could also be getting a warning in the mere fact that another soul is coming to you in your dream. So at the minimum, you can probably estimate that they are thinking about you. But what I want everyone to really, really focus on today and this week with regards to dreams and your inspiration is to understand that because it is a spiritual process, that what I really want to encourage everyone to do is to develop their spiritual faculties. And part of that is understanding that you have access to divine wisdom all day, every day. 24/7, you can access divine wisdom, and you actually limit yourself when you try to intellectually understand what's happening. So I will give a few techniques about the intellectual interpretation of dreams, but I truly, truly do encourage you to be more thoughtful and more inspired to look at how to intuitively interpret your dreams. So let me get at it. First of all, on an intellectual level, there are the symbols and the impressions, and then there's the emotion. So the easiest way to interpret your dream is so simple. You wake up, and how do you feel? Are you feeling anxious? Are you feeling afraid? Are you feeling angry? Are you feeling at peace? There's a whole gambit of possibilities. Whatever it is that you feel, that is the doorway to your healing process. You have these dreams and visions for a reason. Dreams that are clearly good, you can rest assured, I feel at peace. Wow, I'm excited, I'm inspired. Then, you can move to action with that. But if it's a dream that makes you afraid or nervous or angry, then there's going to be more, right? So at the very least, you can pray for peace, pray for clarity, pray for understanding, and pray for healing, because chances are you will go back to sleep and that dream will come back to you. But there is a reason for it, and so I don't want you to run away from these things. So intellectually, you can say, what did I learn? What was the message and what happened? You can go into all the details in the world. At the end of the day, it's about forgiveness. It's about peace. It's about harmony. It's about letting go, right? Those things are very, very obvious. Now you can go deeper. Intellectually, dream interpretations, we do a lot of things about the symbols. Who were you in the dream? Was this a real life experience? Was this something that actually did happen before? Has anything like this happened before? If not, then you can move into, well, what were the symbols? Were there water? Water has meaning to it. Were there fish? Were there babies? The babies are ideas. Fish often is about babies also. But so, we could go on for hours talking about what those symbols are and get into very detailed dream analysis. Part of my hesitation in that is that I think it just activates the intellectual, and people stay so focused on my dream said this and it meant this and da 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 da, and never move into what's happening on the inside, what healing is taking place. And so for that reason, this is why I'm focused on the intuitive, is that you can literally sit, and please do this. When you have a dream, write down what you remember. sit quietly and say, okay, thank you, Spirit. What do I need to know? What do I need to do? If there's anything that I need to know or to do, I am open to receive it. Please reveal that to me. Super, super simple. Okay? If you are afraid, then I would encourage you to pray something more along the lines of, God did not give me a spirit of fear, but of strength and of a sound mind and a sound body. And when you come to it from that perspective, that fear can be alleviated and you say, Spirit, protect me. God, protect me. I know that I am always protected. And then continue, if there's anything that I need to know or anything I need to do, please make that clear to me. Now, wasn't that very easy? I hope that I alleviated some of the confusion about dreams. If you do want to know more about dreams, then just let me know. I'll be happy to do another show coming up. And so next week, I have a show called Lighting Your Spiritual Fire. And I hope that you do come back next week to check that one out. It's going to be good. I'm also curious if you guys have feedback about the live stream, the audio cast. How does this all work for you? Again, I am grateful for all of you who are tuning live at healingtruthcenter.com. I'm clicking around here so I can see who's out there. Good morning, and thank you for tuning in live. I hope that you come back next week, Saturday at 9 a.m. Eastern, where I will be giving an inspirational message called Lighting Your Spiritual Fire. I already know, some of the key insights in it, so trust me, it's going to be a good one, and it'll help you get fired up. And for those of you who are interested in growing spiritually, I do have a book club that starts at 11 a.m. Eastern at healingtruthcenter.com. It's super easy to participate. Just jump on the website live at 11 a.m. and I will be sharing insights from different spiritual books. Today's selection is The Power of Your Subconscious Mind by Dr. Joseph Murphy, who was a divine science minister and a chemist, among other things, but just a really great, savvy spiritual soul who introduced to the world at the time what was described as a self-help book, but it's really a tremendously spiritual book. So I hope that you do tune in live for that and you get to enjoy it. Trying to think what else is important. Oh, then the following week we've got Love Leads the Way, which will be about love and relationships. And then the last show this month is The Art of Forgiveness, which is the Saturday after Thanksgiving. So I hope that you come back. If you are not already on my email list at healingtruthcenter.com, please do join healingtruthcenter.com, the email list, and also the community. I would love to see your thoughts, your comments, your beautiful pictures and faces. You can put your profile up on there. And other than that, in this moment, I just pray that you know wherever you are, right here and right now, God is working in, as, and through you and everywhere in this world. You are a blessing and you were created for success, to bless, to dare to dream, to pray, and to prosper. Whatever are your dreams, do have faith that all things are possible. Let those dreams come to fruition. Let them come to fruition now. Open up in your heart that this too shall come to pass. I believe that our desires are meant to be fulfilled and that our needs are meant to be met. And so continue to dream. Dare to dream and consciously envision the life that you are ready to live and be in this world. God bless you. Until next time, this is Shawna Marie, living in spiritual perspective, part of the multimedia ministry of Healing Truth Center. Have a great day, everyone. I'm signing out.